You are still watching Agenda Awani, and there's a lot of things happening next week. You might want to drop down to PWTC, because I do know all of you are very concerned about issues like this, fighting for justice. You want every other person on earth to be treated fairly and equal, but we're not even talking about fairly and equal. We're talking about being denied the basic rights of a human being. So there'll be the Kuala Lumpur War Crimes Commission hearing on Palestine. There'll be hearing also a forum on 9/11. And I'm going back to Gaza now. And the point I was making before we went to the break was, what's there that's left for somebody who wants to make things right in Gaza, for example? Because they might think that, you know, the international committee has had 6 decades and nothing has changed much. And then at the same time, they're hearing about this thing called Arab Spring, and where other countries which not as bad as them, and then their predicament has even managed to change things, for example. So what would be the thinking now for the average young person in Gaza? Because if we don't reconnect the dots, if we don't try to pressure and do more as an international community to change this, so the conflict, the military conflict, for example, will continue.
Well, you must realize that the Palestinians are one of the few people that are denied access to the ICC and the ICJ. So they cannot bring any cases against Israel. So if you're denied access to the courts, now you're left with very few options. And if you're being attacked, have you the right to defend yourself? Yes, you have the right to defend yourself. And a lot of the Palestinians will defend themselves. And that's where these rockets are coming from. They're there trying to defend themselves. They're not aggressively going out trying to colonize Israel. This is not their agenda. Their agenda is just to live in peace. So in that regard, there are more people taking up arms because they see no other course of action. So in this respect, it's all you're doing is escalating the situation, because the world governments are refusing to recognise Palestine as a state. And until they do recognise Palestine as a state, you're going to have this problem.
Something that the latest attack happened because of the initiative to get a Palestinian state acknowledged at the United Nations, for example. So, and they tie it back to this attack to, delay or throw a spanner into that works. How do you see it? Because at least I think that's the next level. The moment a Palestinian state is acknowledged, and then more options would be available in terms of a nation state and world justice to them. Jenny?
I think it would be very foolish of anybody to think that the Palestinians would start another attack or another conflict. The Palestinians are the ones looking for the state, so to do anything that would counteract maybe their media situation is just ridiculous. Of course, it's not the way they were going to follow things through. They know they want the UN status. They need it. Like Derek said, it's their only, apart from taking up arms, it's their only form of resistance. And while the international community are sitting back and doing nothing, or doing very little, or not doing enough to help with the Palestinians, they have to resist in whatever way they can. They have to fight for it. So the likes of a War Crimes Commission coming up a long way away in Kuala Lumpur is a start. It's a very strong start. And this is the kind of thing we need. We need the international community to have forums, to have conferences, to follow the media, to turn the media, so it's not all one-sided.
Israel has been given the opportunity to deliberate this within their own system. If I can pick up the case of Rachel Corrie, for example, and their courts came out with the decision that, Rachel Corrie is to blame, for example. It's her fault that the bulldozer ran over her again and again, for example. So I guess that's why people don't want to sit down and talk anymore sometimes, because it's just ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. The fact is that Israel is allowed to commit these crimes, and they are crimes. They're murder. I mean, call it what it is, and act with impunity. There is never any consequence to any of their actions. And while this is going to continue, there will be more Rachel Corries. And that's the scary part. There will be more Rachel Corries, be they internationals or Palestinians, there's still young people getting killed all the time while Israel is allowed to act with impunity and no consequences. And while this continues, it's while the international community are watching this and allowing it to continue, there will be more deaths and there will be more lives lost for nothing, for no good reason.
The Rachel Corrie verdict it showed the ineptitude of the Israeli courts, that they could come out with a statement to blame Rachel Corrie for the death of a bulldozer running over her and then reversing back over her again while she was standing wearing a high-vis vest, protesting with the loudhailer to stop the Israelis from demolishing a Palestinian home. And the Israeli courts come out with a statement stating that it was her fault that she stood in front of the bulldozer and that the driver didn't see her. Now, that just showed how much of a farce Israeli justice is, and that the Palestinians are not going to win any cases in Israel.
Well, I mean, it's not just showing that the Israeli court system is a farce. If you're having your own court system against yourself in your country, of course you're going to find yourself not guilty. I mean, that's
but
the
what
farce.
she was trying to stop illegal settlement. This is one of the most contentious issues to discuss any peace between Israel and the Palestinians. How is it now? Because people have been telling me, even at forums and wherever I can get information, that it's just not stopping.
No, it's not stopping.
It's growing. And they're building more things to help cement the position of the illegal settlements.
Yeah, on a daily basis, there's more and more settlements being built all over the West Bank, Jerusalem. They're just taking more and more ground every day and pushing Palestinians off it. They walk into an area and say, we are now taking this land and we're building a house here. Yeah. And it is getting to the stage where there is now very little room for the Palestinians to move.
Yes.
And if this continues, there will be no Palestine. The West Bank will disappear. And if that continues, the Americans have even asked them to stop the settlements so the peace talks can continue. Yeah. Every nation has says that the settlements are illegal, yet Israel turns around and just ignores what the rest of the world says. If any other country tried to act the way Israel has been acting, they would be admonished, they would be brought in front of any court in the world, and they would be held accountable. Israel act with impunity.
I think the hearing will get a lot of things and we will see a tribunal, but let the course of justice takes its path. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jenny and Derek, for making time to be on Astro Awani to talk about this very, very important issue. And jangan lupa minggu depan pergi saja ke PWTC daripada hari Isnin 19 bulan sampai ke hari Selasa, hari Rabu dan hari Khamis. Kita ada pelbagai aktiviti. Kita boleh mendengar tentang saksi-saksi tentang isu Palestin. Kita boleh mendengar juga tentang 9/11. I didn't have time to talk about 9/11. I'm telling the audience now that next week we can go to PWTC and hear about 9/11 and whether, what we think and what we know would be two different things if we look at the facts. And I'm putting on the slide now, and you can send to PGPF the account number to contribute towards the cost.
This is for medical relief for the last 48 hours.
Emergency medical relief going to Gaza.
For the current attack, yeah. Hantarkan bantuan kepada akaun yang telah tertera di sini, dan kita akan bincangkan lagi isu ini daripada semasa ke semasa, terutamanya selepas habis semua yang akan dibincangkan minggu depan di PWTC. Sekian, selamat malam dan terima kasih. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Terima kasih.